Markiplier isn't real. Possessor? I'll save it to my watch later. This looks scary. Making me some post-editing snacks. The first thing I saw related to Possessor was this picture, and I get really excited with new creepy screenshots. And when I read that it was an assassin using brain technology to possess other people's bodies, I kind of mentally crafted a movie in my head like 90% of the day, and what directions it would take and how crazy it could get. But it was a bit different than what I imagined personally. And I stop right there, Ryan. Why don't you just read some plot for once? Maybe there's more than meets your big dumb eyes. Yeah, I redid the end of the intro. So why don't we watch through a second time and see if we can put the pieces together by the end. So the first shot we're given is, and whoever has a fear of needles has left the building, but no worries, I'll get through. I'm not as weak as the rest. When you're driving and your kids fight over the aux cord, if you bastards can't decide, then no one gets to listen to Spotify. This is actually well done. It made my brain feel tingy. So she's a hostess for the Blue Knight Sky Lounge, and her first order of business, which I don't think was approved by everyone, is turn this party into a knife party. So after that, she dies, and it's revealed that little Miss Possessor here inhabited her body to complete murders for the company she works for, and then falls asleep. Okay, while she's having her nap, I just want to say that everything has a purpose down the road, but being me, making sense of all that will probably be a disaster. So before, when Tassia was in Holly's body, after she got rid of the birthday boy, she says,
"Pull me out,"
and tries to shoot herself to leave Holly's body, but can't. The reason she can't is because of something I'll get into later, and also the trauma of watching who she possesses dies for so long is making her slowly lose who she really is. And originally, like, before I looked up a crumb of evidence, I was like, oh, why doesn't she quit? What she's doing is bad. She's such a villain. But I beat that Ryan up, because I am better than that. I like that the more body transmission she goes through, the more that she loses her memories, even though it's like sad and stuff. And no worries, there will be much more Ryan having a dumb thought moment where I'm wrong that you and I will get to make fun of later. So after her nap, Tassia sat in front of 3 things to remember from her past: a butterfly, a pipe, and a third thing. She remembers accidentally killing the butterfly and feeling guilty about it.
I still feel guilty about it.
She remembers her grandfather's pipe,
This is my grandfather's pipe.
but doesn't remember the third thing.
This isn't mine.
And Gertrude's like, very good, normal across the board, don't mind that third thing, forget the third thing ever existed. So then she goes back home, actually, she vapes, and everyone else vapes in this movie. This is the beginning of the end, so instead of smoking, it's vape, because blue raspberry cotton candy is fun and harmless.
And I promise you.
No more nosebleeds.
But then we get this really sweet moment with Tassia before she sees her kid.
Hi, darling. Hi, darling. Hi, darling. What have you got there? What have you got? Hi, darling. What have you got there?
It's kind of sad if you think about it, because she has to repeat what she's saying to get back to her real self since she's losing who that person is, but I just find it wholesome. Also, this is me when I'm making my intros.
What have you got there?
So this boy is now in his own entirely different sci-fi thriller that he's unaware of. Great. There's also some subtle hints that are dropped that come into play later. Like this scene where Gertrude's convincing Tassia to keep possessing because she has a special nature to build her trust. And then this unsettling line.
Sometimes that's all it takes to lose control. That small thought. Like a tiny fracture.
Well, I hope I don't get one of those fractures you mentioned. Anyways, they want to target Colin next because his girlfriend's dad, John, has this massive corporation. And they really want that corporation. Which is great because they were hired by Reed, the stepson of John, who wants to kill John, who is played by Sean Bean, who dies in like every single thing he's in. Not to give anything away, of course. So they build up his narrative and how they'll get him to break and become unstable. I think I'm unstable. Killing his girlfriend, her dad, and then himself at a party so that Reed can inherit the company. Well, once they own the company, they plan to control Reed so they can own more. I think everyone's gonna eventually get to a point in this video where they just realize I'm bombarding you with details about the story that I just hope you follow along. It's not you being dumb, my brain's just working against me. So Tassia does her possessing, and also she was made of chocolate all along, and wakes up as Colin. I remember the times as a kid where you fell asleep on the couch downstairs, transported upstairs, and then woke up in your room. But because Colin isn't Colin, because Tasia is, his girlfriend Ava notices, like, right away. It's kinda cute.
You're in a good mood this morning. What's with you today?
What is wrong, my dear? I am your normal loving husbandman. Look at me, I'm eating an apple. I like apples. But then we see him grab this little sea bunny, but then it disappears because it lives underwater. And we are not underwater. This scene is actually more important than I made it sound. I apologize. So Colin goes to his job, but then runs into Eddie. But Eddie isn't important right now. I don't have anything written about him in this part of the video, so he can go away. And Colin's job is curtains in VR.
Brown curtains.
What a passion to have. Maybe that's why he has curtains. But then suddenly the little sea bunny returns and stings him, giving him a little headache. Remember that tiny fracture Girder mentioned would make you lose control? That's Sea Bunny. The little accident in our programming.
Come on, game designers, get with it.
But then he takes a nap, and Tasia gets control back. So the day of John's party, they get Tasia to recalibrate Colin to get him back on track, which is what the aux cord from before is for. And when Colin gets in his little scruffle with John, I don't know why he says this, but it's great. That's the only thing about this night that's not upsetting. The rest is fucking sad. It almost made me cry. He beats John with a poker instead of the gun he was given, and compare it to way back when Holly didn't use the gun she was supposed to use either. I think the meaning of that is both the possessee and the possessor battling for control, but it's just getting out of control. And only at the end, the possessees going through with the murder take control again, and is why Tasia can't get Colin or Holly to shoot themselves and be pulled out, because their survival instincts kick in. When the staff say Colin is back in control and want to disconnect Tasia, since she's Girder still chooses to keep Tasia in the machine to get it back, even though
If we have to keep you in longer, damage to your brain will begin at Category C, which I'm not willing to risk.
but then you risk it for the biscuit. You're even reminded of what you told us.
She stays in.
What kind of bullshit? So Colin stabs the shit out of the device they put in him and runs home. But then he gets a knock on his door from someone. Someone that wasn't important before, but is now Eddie!
You poor dear.
So Eddie returns to give his old friend a visit. Or not. Yeah, never mind. His real purpose is being Tasia's lifeline if anything ever went wrong with Colin. And something did. So Eddie makes Colin chicken noodle soup to make him feel better, and also hooks his brain up to a machine. The last thing Colin does is a pulse analysis, which is the aux cord thing, so that Tasia can be back in control, shoot herself in Colin's body, and be pulled out. But just then, because all is not what it seems... Oh! The rumor's read to represent rage. I get it. So his consciousness gets access to all of her memories of possessing, the company, the vape, the doll. So now both his and Tasia's forms are combined, and when Colin in the room wakes up, he knows where Tasia lives.
Get the fuck back.
He breaks in and...
Do you ever worry about parasites?
Then he and Tasia suddenly see each other in blurry vision. He tells her to fix this, and she tells him that he's been the one in control. Still confused, he takes his anger out on Tasia's husband, Michael, and once again says,
Pull me out.
but can't. But then...
Pull me out.
So Girder possessed Tasia's son to kill Colin and get Tasia to pull herself out. And because Girder's forced Tasia into these dangerous experiments to eventually get full control of her to use for assassinations, she shoots her own child because her awareness of possessing Colin is gone, and a lifeless murderer is what Girder wanted from her all along.
Here she comes to wreck the day!
And after that, she's sat in front of a table to remember those 3 things again, but for the butterfly, she still remembers it, but doesn't say she feels guilty about killing it anymore. And it ends Towards the end of this video, I'm glad I decided to delve more into the world. I got another Ryan having a dumb thought moment saved here. I only thought I was disappointed because there was only 2 people being possessed, and 3 for the twist. I thought there would be more possessed bodies, like one after another, and having events play out that way, and then having to untangle them. But then I realized it's probably very difficult to do. So I appreciate that it's tightly wound around these 2, and focusing on Tasia's mental health and identity. It's slow-paced at times, but it gives us room to get used to who's being possessed and how they're important. It's not as exciting as I thought it would be. It's very sad and brutal, but it has a nice slow burn to it, and I love those. I watched Joker like 3 times. I have the tickets framed on my wall behind me. And when I read that it was an assassin using brain technology to possess other people's bodies, I kind of mentally crafted a movie in my head like 90% of the day, and what directions it would take and how crazy it could get, but it was a bit different than what I imagined personally. Colin didn't finish the rest of his apple, so I'm sorry, but that mistake, that tiny fracture, will not let me enjoy the rest of this movie, and the rest is just incomprehensible. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share with a friend, and I hope to see you in the next one. So bye for now, see you soon! Pull me out.
Have a happy holiday, Ryan.
Sponsored by Pringles. Now we have these Pringles. Sour Patch Kids, big kid version. Have some bricks.